Hi, Lisa.
Hi,
We are so glad you were able to join us today.
thank you very much for inviting me. I'm excited about everything that TRIAD is doing right now. It's very exciting.
Well, we love your energy. It helps keep us going.
For sure.
So we're going to have a conversation about interdependence, which we're excited about. It's one of Casey's absolutely favorite topics.
I love it.
And we've been studying it for a while, and we know you've been immersing yourself in it as well.
Yes.
So I know you've got some questions. Why don't you start there, and we'll see where it takes us.
Okay. So, I have a history of codependence.
Ah.
The old me back in the olden days. And so the very first person that ever introduced me to the concept of interdependence is Casey. So I remember you coming out to one of our groups, and I was just so excited and interested in this topic because I'd never truly heard it before. And so, and in looking at all and listening to all of the other four spectrums, I kind of got stumped on this because I always felt when I first heard about it from you, Casey, I thought, this is something I want to work towards. And I really felt that I needed to have the other four spectrums in place before I could have any intradependence with other people. And in kind of reviewing that recently, it dawned on me that maybe isn't true.
I think your gut's telling you right. Casey, why don't you speak a little bit to the maturity that happens, and then I'll weave in the spectrums after.
Okay, super. Yeah, when we are growing, if you think about a little kid, baby comes out and they're dependent, right? That's kind of where we start. There's this dependence. We need other people to look after us. And over time, we build skills and resources and experience, and we create our own independence. And we start to, the kid, I do it myself. Right? And we get this capacity to really stand on our own 2 feet and to develop our own skills and our own knowledge and start to really sort of get to know ourselves. And as we do that, we are starting to kind of own our own power. And then as you move as you move through the maturity model, you actually have the choice to either go to codependence or to interdependence. And you can't do both in the same relationship.
Yes.
So codependence is like sharing of energy. So it's this push-pull of sharing of energy. And the difference with interdependence is it's 2 people that both are independent that are working together to create interdependence. And so that's a very different thing. And people get stuck either in codependence or in independence, where they think that they have to do it all themselves. And when you bring 2 fully independent people together and they want to work together, they can create this win-win environment where they have more than either can do on their own.
That makes sense. And don't mind, my dog wants to get in the conversation.
Of course.
He's excited about this too. So you really do need to get to a certain level of being ready to let go of that codependence and that independence to get to that point of interdependence, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things, a couple of things sometimes happen because we're all a little different. Sometimes, depending on how we're brought up and what we're taught, we never actually finish being independent. Or we never actually finish that. In fact, independence can seem scary, right? And so we build these deeper codependent relationships. And so it's important as a leader that you come back and really master the independent piece. Now, if you've mastered the independent piece, one of the big myths that was happening over many generations is that, and you would hear parents say it, right? As long as my kids don't need me, that I know I'm a good parent. I need to create independent children, right? This was a goal. We never even realized that interdependence was a thing.
Didn't know it was on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And so we got to the point where we could tie our own shoes, you know, handle our own bank accounts, we could get a job, we could do all of that. And then no one taught us how to ask for help. No one taught us how to work. Everything we learned about working together in the sandbox in like kindergarten got flushed as being a childish thing.
Yes.
And from a next level leader perspective, we need to champion that. The fact that we do want to come together. So in my independence, I can go work with somebody else and we don't get lost in each other. Right? So as a leader, what will happen for somebody who hasn't mastered being independent yet, if they're in a position of leadership, then they'll create codependence around them because that's what makes them feel safe. They'll either over give to the staff or expect the staff, you can't do anything unless you ask me. Right? It's the micromanagers and stuff like that that starts to happen. When we're in a place where we've mastered our own independence and we're starting to learn the skill sets of interdependence, then not only do we want that for ourselves, we start fostering it in our environment, including at home and in all of our relationships and at work. And then we build it to the point where we insist on it. We won't work unless it's in that place. Now, the cool thing is when it comes to the other spectrums, for instance, being grounded and aligned with yourself comes with your independence, right? And then when you take your grounded alignment out into an interdependent relationship with someone, it keeps you grounded. So even if that other person hasn't mastered it yet, you can't get pulled off or away. They just zoom away. It's like, bye, come back when you're ready, right? They can't take you with them. When it comes to influence, when people don't think that you're trying to take their power from them, right? You have a lot more influence over people when you're in that place where you're working with them and they can feel that give and take.
Yes.
They get a chance to give and they're also receiving. When both people feel like they've gotten away with something, like, I can't believe I made this deal, right? They're both like, oh my God, I got to like start that car. When both people feel that way, that's interdependence in full bloom.
Yes.
Right. And so the active growth piece is that if we're independent and we never move into interdependence, then we don't see any reason to actively grow. Because we don't want to show anybody that we don't know it all. And we're so isolated, we don't hang out with other people that could show us that there are windows into other types of wisdom and knowledge and cool experiences. So the active growth allows us to have the experiences to continue to build the interdependence by working with other people. So it grows that way. So, and then, of course, the more that you're working with other people, the more your personal mastery grows. Because you get reflected back to you what's happening with you. You get like real-time data about what's going on. So the spectrums really do weave together. And the more that you work on them together, then the faster that they all build.
It feels like a teeter-totter, I think, sometimes, because you'll be interdependent with other like associates and there'll be a learning and you kind of have to step back and teeter back this way to the personal mastery and self-reflect and go, did she mean this or this? And, oh, this isn't about me. And this is, okay, let that go. So I can hear the conversations going. And I think that the growth can be all moving at the same time. And yet I do still feel that teeter-tottering of going back and forth on either whether it's your personal mastery or your growth or whatever else you're working on in different areas of the spectrums.
Yep. And a lot of that has to do, Lisa, because it has everything to do with where you are in each of those places. Yeah. So anytime we're learning anything, we experience that.
Yes.
Right? That's part of a learning process. So it doesn't matter what you're learning, it feels clunkier and it feels like you're having to think your way through it. And then once you do it enough, so if you go work interdependently with enough people, you'll get through that faster. Right? You'll just get better and better at it till something comes in, you go, that was weird. Oh, and then you'll just keep going. Like it'll start happening in real time eventually.
Yes. And one last thing I'd like to ask about this whole topic is discernment and trust. Okay. So, and when I think of trust in an interdependent relationship, it's it's not just trust of the other person, it's trust of yourself. Because if you trust yourself, then you know that it will come out for the best intention of all, the win-win relationship. And if they're not in a stage where they're ready, then you trust enough to let them go. Does that make sense?
It totally made, you've nailed it.
Okay, cool.
You've nailed it. Because
Gold star.
the flip point in that spectrum is that you stop needing to trust other people in order to feel safe because you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, that means the first place you go is to your own discernment.
Right.
When your intuition niggles at you and says that person isn't being everything, I don't know why, but they're not bringing their whole self. And I don't know what's going on with them, but something doesn't feel right. I don't have to know what it is, but it means I'm going to have more caution with that person.
Right.
Right. Or I might decide if I'm looking at a deal to work with someone and that my gut tells me no, then I'm just going to say no. I trust myself so much. I don't need to know why.
That's a great place to be.
Along with that, your capacity to set and hold your boundaries is very clear, because you have trust in yourself, you have your own discernment. And so, somebody who isn't there yet, their boundaries can be really wishy-washy.
Yes.
Because they're always looking to see whether they can trust the other person. So they actually test their own boundaries on other people.
Very nice. Well, I have to say, Casey and KK, I'm honored and really thrilled to be on this journey of interdependence with you. And I can't wait to help share what you're doing and pass the word out, and know that ripple effect is going to spread so quickly, because I know people are waiting for this. They're waiting for us to help them to learn how to be interdependent. So
thank you, Lisa. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa.